USO Rhoda, here with
Michaela.
and we're going to bring to you some science experiments that you can do at home. With most ingredients, so probably being something that you already have. Today we're going to make
Ice cream in a bag.
Yeah, and we're so positive that you're gonna like it. We're just like protons. But like a neutron, there's no
Charm.
You can follow along with this experiment at home, or you can come back and watch the video later to try to make these things yourself once you have the ingredients and materials. So speaking of ingredients and materials, what do we need?
You need milk. If you're making vanilla, you need vanilla extract. And you need this.
Yep, that's whipping cream.
Whipped cream.
So in a lot of places you would be making your ice cream with half and half. In Europe, in most stores, we don't have half and half. So we have shelf-stable milk and shelf-stable cream that we're going to make our own half and half out of. They make things shelf-stable here so they can sit at room temperature for a long period of time. But once you open these, you do have to refrigerate them. What else do we need?
We need sugar.
And that's pretty much it for the milk, for vanilla flavored. But you can also make it using
Chocolate milk.
chocolate milk. If you
For
want chocolate
chocolate
ice cream, you can add any other kinds of flavorings that you would like to it. You can even make it out of like fruit juice or things like that if you can't have milk and you want to have something more like a slushy, right?
We also need your measuring spoons.
Yep, you need
I'm gonna
measuring
buy some
spoons.
shoe ones. And we need a measuring cup.
Yep. And then we need,
Salt.
well, we need large gallon-sized Ziploc bags, right?
Yeah.
One for you, one for me. And then we need a smaller size quart bag. And actually, when we were researching this, it said that you probably want more than one quart size one so that the solution on the outside of the bag doesn't get into your final ice cream, right? So I'm going to give us both one of those.
You need ice. And you need salt. And maybe these.
Little stir sticks.
Little sticks.
Okay.
And you need these so you don't have hurt hands.
Yeah, I'll get your hands really cold. Okay, here's a bag for you. Go ahead, put it in your bowl. Now we're using the bowl just to be able to hold up our bags so that we don't spill the ingredients as we've gotten them mixed together. And yeah, I can help you. So I'm just folding the edge down so that the bag stays open, and then it just sits in the bowl. It just kind of gives you extra set of hands.
Oh, I
Okay.
need to put it around here.
No, you could, but this is not a small enough bowl. Anyhow, I'm going to give you a cloth too, just to have on the side. Just to have on the side, and I have a cloth for myself. Okay, what flavor ice cream do you want to make?
Vanilla. first.
Vanilla? Okay, so now to make it so that it'll freeze pretty quickly, we're not going to use huge amounts of any one thing. Instead, we're going to have about a half a cup of ice cream that we're making at a time. So we're going to measure out 1/4 of a cup of milk. See, that's 1/4 of a cup? No, not yet. 1/4 of a cup of milk. And then you could pour that 1/4 of a cup of milk straight in to your baggie. But we know that 1/4 of a cup and 1/4 of a cup makes 1/2 cup. So we're going to put in a 1/2 cup. Now when you're measuring, you always want to go down to the level to make sure that the top of the fluid is sitting at your measuring mark. And that's how you make sure that you have enough of it, right? So go ahead and put that in your bag. Yeah, you can pour it for me. Should I make chocolate then?
Yeah, I'm chocolate.
Okay. So then we need to get the vanilla.
Vanilla extract.
Vanilla extract. So for the vanilla extract, for a 1/2 cup of,
Careful.
yeah, we gotta be careful. And so I like to measure over things so I don't accidentally spill it past. If it's something that I have to be really, really careful with, I measure it over something where it's not gonna fall into what I'm making. But I think we'll be okay. So we're gonna put in 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. Whoop. Right in there, yeah, perfect. So I'm gonna make
It smells good.
Does it?
Yes,
All right. Now, we washed our hands before we started, but we want to make sure that you know that you're supposed to wash your hands too, especially if you're making this for somebody else. Are you going to make this for somebody?
no, this is mine.
This one's yours? Are you going to make some later for somebody?
Nah, this one's for Ian.
That one's going to be for Ian? Okay. So now what we need is a tablespoon. That's probably better for Tyler. He doesn't really like chocolate. We need a tablespoon of sugar. Right?
A little bit more.
Go ahead. Okay, so now you can go ahead and zip up your bag and start kind of mixing the things together, right? So we'll pull it up on itself and zip it really firmly. Can you zip it pretty good? Make sure it's nice and sealed. Good. And then you gotta mix it. You can mix it with your hands until all that sugar's dissolved.
It is nice. It's cold.
It's cold?
Yeah.
Alright.
I want one.
Well, you can pour it into my bag, okay? So I don't need to add anything else to this unless I wanted to put just a little bit of cream to make it creamier, but I think it's okay as it is. So I'm gonna measure out 1/2 cup of chocolate milk, right? You check to make sure that it's 1/2 cup. And then we go ahead and pour it in. Oops. I'll stir that for you while you pour it in for me.
I think I stirred it.
Well, we want to make sure all the sugar's dissolved in it. Good. Go ahead and sip that. I don't need any sugar. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna zip up my bag. I don't have to do a lot of mixing with it, so I can basically just seal it up because the chocolate milk's pretty sweet already. I'm gonna try to get out a little bit of the air because that warm air in there is gonna keep.
Oh, mine has air.
That's okay, we'll get it out once you're done mixing. If I have a lot of air in there, it kind of makes insulation pockets so that the mixture doesn't freeze as good.
I don't think I'm going to sugar.
All right, I'm gonna let just a little air out of yours. All right. And then we're gonna seal it up nice and tight again. Okay, there you go. So now we've got our bags of milk mixture. Set that aside. Okay. Now, remember what I said? We probably want to put it into a second bag. This is going to do two things, because when we add the salt to the ice, it's going to make salt water. A lot of times, maybe some of you have been places where people will put salt down on their sidewalk to make the ice melt. And the reason that they do that is because when you add salt to it, when you add salt to the ice, it lowers the freezing temperature. When it lowers the freezing temperature, that's what lets it begin to freeze other things. But because the solution that's coating the sidewalk or street has a lower freezing temperature, it doesn't ice up quite as badly as it would otherwise. Right? You got it in there? We got to still get a little bit more of that air out. Again, we don't want to insulate our mixture to the point that we can't get it to freeze. Okay, you want to open up your bag? Your big gallon bag? Okay, so we got our big gallon bags. And then you can use any salt, but we have some coarse salt here because it doesn't tend to it won't stay up. It doesn't tend to make as salty of a solution immediately. The big granules take a little bit longer to dissolve, but the chemical action begins already. So you'll have to hold open your bag. I'm going to dump the ice in, right? And then you want me to hold it and you put the salt in on yours?
All of it?
Yeah. Now we have a lot of salt here. We're trying to make it go really quickly, but you don't necessarily need that much salt.
It's covered. It's like snow.
Yeah. All right, then inside there, it does get cold, doesn't it, pretty quickly. We're going to add in our other bag, right? And you want to kind of try to get it down in there, right? Feel how cold that is?
I want my coffee.
Yeah, so we're going to take the towel to protect your hands, because you know how cold your hands get. Like if you've ever had a bump or a bruise and they say, ooh,
Very cold.
you need to put ice on that to stop it from swelling, right? Do you want me to take a little of the air out of the bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll help you a little bit. Take that, squish some of the air out. There you go. And keep mixing. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same with mine. I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt in. Excuse me, ice in. Once I've got that in there, I'm gonna take my salt, I'm gonna add that in. Now we started reducing the temperature of the ice pretty quickly.
It's kind of turning into it.
It shouldn't take very long. Okay. Now we could just let it sit on there and it would freeze. It would probably freeze into like a block. It wouldn't freeze into anything super, super tasty, right?
It turned into something not so good.
No, it would just be solid frozen ice. So
Yeah.
by mixing it while we're doing it, we're actually making the ice crystals form but break apart. And when they form and break apart, that is what makes your ice cream have a nice soft consistency rather than a hard consistency. So keep stirring that. Okay. How's yours doing? Now our things that we were using were not super cold anymore, so it's going to take just a little bit of time for them to
And still
become
liquid.
ice cream. Yep.
Yeah, our ice was melted because it's hot in here.
Yep. It's hot in Spain, right? I'm trying to get mine down inside the ice just a little bit more. Right?
Let's see if
And I can take it. And you hear it all moving around. What's it look like?
it looks like this still.
It's still a little liquidy. So by stirring this, we're not only breaking up those crystals, we're also moving around the liquid inside the bag, the milk solution, so that it gets evenly cold and it begins to freeze evenly, right? Seeing some little crystals start to form, are you?
Yeah.
A little bit, yep.
Oh, there's a big chunk.
Well, keep stirring it. That's what's important right now. Take it, wrap it,
I know.
and then shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And that usually works pretty good. And it does get really cold on your hands. So these towels are important. You don't want to get frostbite. Feel mine?
Oh, yours is turning into it?
It's starting to. It's getting bubbly too.
Mine's bubbly too.
All right. Well, we're gonna
Because you
keep.
keep smashing it.
Yeah. Now, we're doing this in a bag, but you don't have to do it in a bag necessarily. A lot of
It's probably
places,
easier.
it's easy because pretty much everybody has a bag. But you can use a little bag inside of like a pan or a jar. Ice cream makers that maybe that you use at home. Pull this out for a
those
minute.
snow cone makers.
Yep.
Those Scooby-Doo
I'm gonna
ones.
pull it out a little bit so you can see that it's starting to change.
You want to see? I'm going to try that.
How's yours?
Oh, it's pretty
Ooh,
close.
it's pretty close. Yep, put it back in. We don't want to start defrosting it.
Ew, I got so tiny.
It's okay.
Ew,
You
it's
do want to make sure that after you do this, you'll wash up your bag and your hands and everything really well before you try to get the ice cream out.
my hand has
Because
salt
there's a lot
crystals
of,
on there.
yeah, there's a lot of salt. They will chicken. So we're trying to make some of these videos, and we want to know if there's any science experiments or anything that you want to know about at home. You can let us know in the comments after we post this video, and we'll see if we have the things in our house that we need to make them, and bring you those science experiments maybe that you want to share with the community. Or maybe you've made videos of yourself doing something, or have pictures of something that you've made. If you want to, you can also put those in the comments down below. And last, if you decide to do the experiment that we're doing now, we'd really like to see your ice cream and how you enjoy your treats. So we're going to pause, we're going to keep shaking this, and we'll come back after we've rinsed off our bags to show you what our finished ice cream looks like.
Or just keep going.
Okay, so we've been shaking this for probably about 3, maybe 5 more minutes. And we washed our hands because we checked our bags.
And they're pretty close.
And they're pretty much done. But that water is very salty inside, and we don't want to get salt water inside of our ice cream. So we washed our hands really good, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to check and see what our ice cream looks like. Now you see our hands are really, really pink because it's cold. Just like when you put an ice pack on a boo-boo, they're cold. So you don't want to leave them in that really cold water too long, because you can get frostbite or a burn. And we're going to pull out our little bags, right? And we'll zip these back up. We're trying not to get a lot of salt on our hands from the salt water.
So I don't have to eat salt.
Right. You don't want to eat salt.
Oh.
Set those down for a minute. Get yours.
Did it?
Yep, zip it back up so that it doesn't spill on the table. Cool. All right, so we washed our hands. And then remember, we did 2 bags inside. So I'm going to kind of wipe off some of the salt water from mine.
Can I wipe off my hand?
Take a towel from there. And then we're going to wipe off from here. You can rinse it too if you want to. But we're just going to show you really quickly what these look like, right? So take my cloth to keep from getting frostbite, and then let's slide them on over. Here, let me do it because my hands are pretty clean, and now I can get salt in our ice cream. So I'm going to carefully open up the bag of vanilla.
Mine's pretty nice.
We're going to take it out, right? Ooh, there's even some ice crystals. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see maybe that there's some ice crystals right on the outside of the bag. Here's yours. Take out mine.
It's salt.
No, it's not salt, that's ice. Taste it.
Ew.
Wipe your hand and then just taste it. See, it's ice crystals.
It's not salty.
Well, that's why we had a couple bags involved here, so that we don't risk getting salt inside of our ice cream, right? And make sure we don't have any, as best as we can, any salt near the opening of the bag, right? You got yours?
Good. It's cold.
It is cold. Now
it's
you can
cold.
keep this in the freezer. Here, let's give ourselves a little space because we're going to serve some up, right?
Yes.
So earlier today we made a little cake. And so we're going to take our little cups and we're going to taste our finished ice cream. Here's a spoon for you.
Oh.
And I have a spoon, right?
It's not very ice creamish.
Yeah. It's kind of like soft serve. So the way the ice cream works, yeah, they'll warm up again. If you need to, we can run them under warm water. Then we're going to take some of your ice cream, whoop, put it on.
Ooh, yum, yum.
Yep, hold on. I got one more special thing.
Sprinkles.
Yeah, always sprinkles.
Wait, give me one of those orbs.
I don't have an orb, I don't think. There's one in there already. There you go. Yeah, right there.
Big orbs.
Okay. Now I'll just use the same spoon.
I like
And I'm
sprinkles.
going to have a little chocolate ice cream on my cake. There we go. Right. We have a little bit left. That Daddy. Oh, that's enough sprinkles, man. I'll put a little bit on mine. Sprinkles.
I don't never
Right.
have to.
So, you can taste it. Yeah?
Tastes like whipped cream.
Does it? Yeah, well, put a lot of that cream in there. Well, right now, I'm gonna take a little of the vanilla and I'm gonna put it in mine. You want a little chocolate in yours?
Wait, put it on one side.
There you go. So we both have some ice cream. And you're gonna mix it up. And I'm gonna taste the vanilla one too. I think I like the vanilla better. It's really vanilla-y. Is it good? So,
It's cold.
yeah, it's cold, all right. So there's a nice, easy treat that you can make at home using science and a lot of ingredients that you may already have. And what this is going to teach you is that ice cream consistencies. So this is kind of like a mix between regular ice cream and soft serve. It's nice and creamy because of the ingredients that we chose. It's got nice small ice crystals in the liquid that make it solid. It's got a little bit of the fat molecules or droplets that are jumbled up with the ice. And then because we were shaking it so much, it's got a little bit of air in it too. So it's a nice fluffy treat, just like you get if you went to go get soft serve, right?
It's a little bit crunchy.
Well, that's your sprinkles.
No.
Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this video with me, Deanna, and
Michaela.
if you want to, we'd really love to see some of your videos of you and or pictures of you trying out this experiment at home. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.